Greetings, Sigmas. Most men are conditioned from a young age to chase validation, to pursue, to perform and to impress. They study scripts on how to flirt, spend hours in front of mirrors perfecting their image, and mentally rehearse how to dominate a conversation. But the Sigma male? He's built differently. He doesn't seek attention, it. When a Sigma walks into a room, it's not about what he wears or says. It's the energy he carries. Calm, controlled, commanding. He doesn't raise his voice, yet people lean in. He doesn't chase approval, yet he commands respect. That paradox is precisely what drives women wild. Unlike the alpha who craves admiration or the beta who seeks comfort, the Sigma exudes a psychological intensity that's both mysterious and alluring. He's detached from the social hierarchy, not out of rebellion, but because he's found freedom in his own company. This independence becomes intoxicating to women who are used to being pursued. It flips the dynamic. Suddenly the one's trying to decode him. The obsession begins not with what he does, but with what he withholds. He's emotionally disciplined, and that self-mastery is what truly makes him unforgettable. Studies in behavioral psychology even support this. Women often show heightened interest in men who display ambiguity and unpredictability in romantic settings, triggering the brain's reward system much like a slot machine, uncertain yet addictive. In this video, we're diving deep into those 12 hidden psychological triggers that make Sigma males stay rent-free in a woman's mind. These aren't gimmicks or manipulation tactics. They're truths rooted in real-world psychology, evolutionary instincts, and emotional intelligence. So if you've ever wondered why some men are merely noticed while others are remembered, it's time to step into the shadows of the Sigma psyche. Welcome to Brain Boosters. What you're about to hear, you won't forget. Let's begin. Number 1, unbothered presence. He doesn't seek attention, he simply occupies space with quiet confidence. That very absence of striving becomes magnetic. In a world where people often clamor for validation through loud voices, flashy clothes, and curated images, his stillness is disruptive. This is the Sigma male's paradox. By not trying to be noticed, he's the one people notice most. Psychologically, this is rooted in what's called the law of reverse effort. The more we chase something, the more it eludes us. When a man exudes self-sufficiency and detachment from external approval, it signals high value. He's not posturing to be liked. He already likes himself. This causes a fascinating phenomenon. People, especially women, become intrigued not by what he reveals, but by what he withholds. Evolutionarily speaking, humans are wired to be curious about uncertainty and to value what is scarce. A man who's not constantly available or broadcasting his desires becomes a psychological puzzle, and puzzles are irresistible. Women are biologically and socially conditioned to notice status cues, confidence, mystery, emotional control, and the Sigma male checks these boxes without even trying. His independence speaks volumes louder than empty words. He doesn't hunt. He positions himself in such a way that he becomes the object of curiosity. She's drawn to what isn't trying to be caught because it reflects strength and control, qualities that signal protection, leadership, and a strong identity. Entertainingly enough, it's like a cinematic moment. The quiet man in the corner, unreadable yet composed, who unknowingly commands the energy of the entire room. That's no accident. It's a product of rare psychological calibration and emotional maturity. While others perform, he observes. While others chase, he builds. And in that stillness, he becomes the gravitational pull that others orbit around, especially the one who thought she could resist. Number 2, selective visibility. He appears and withdraws on his own terms. His availability is a rhythm she can't predict, and unpredictability breeds fixation. This isn't a game, it's the natural aura of a man who values his time, his space, and his peace. In psychology, this dynamic is closely tied to what's known as the intermittent reinforcement principle, a behavior pattern where rewards are given at unpredictable intervals. It's the same principle that keeps people glued to slot machines. The uncertainty of the next jackpot creates obsession. When a man, particularly one with Sigma traits, doesn't constantly flood a woman with attention, but instead comes and goes with purpose and confidence, it sparks a deep psychological intrigue. Her brain releases dopamine, the pleasure chemical, not consistently but sporadically, making every interaction feel like a rare treasure. This unpredictability makes her think more about him, anticipate his next move, and emotionally invest in trying to understand him. But what makes it powerful isn't manipulation, it's authenticity. The Sigma male isn't trying to play hard to get. He's simply hard to get because he's immersed in his purpose. He doesn't need to be around all the time to feel secure or validated. His presence becomes an event, not background noise. In a world where people are constantly online and overly accessible, his elusive nature makes him magnetic. Women are biologically wired to be drawn to challenge, mystery, and strength. When a man disappears into his mission and reappears with confidence and calm, she doesn't see inconsistency, she sees value. This rhythm of presence and absence creates a powerful psychological loop that keeps her coming back, not because he's controlling her emotions, but because he's awakened something primal in her. Curiosity, wonder, and desire. It's not about playing with hearts, it's about living with depth. Number 3, against the grain. He refuses to perform the expected social script. While most people instinctively play along with the unwritten rules of social interaction, smiling when expected, complimenting to fit in, or exaggerating achievements to gain approval, he opts out. He doesn't posture for validation or adjust his character to match the room. This refusal is not arrogance, it's sovereignty. In a world trained to mimic in order to belong, he becomes an anomaly. Psychologically, this behavior aligns with what researchers call the tendency to be authentic rather than socially acceptable. While others scramble to showcase their best angles and curated personas, his quiet refusal to perform draws attention. It's not that he seeks it, it's that he doesn't. That lack of need is magnetic. In a sea of sameness, his detachment from competition sends a rare signal. It's the law of contrast at work. What's uncommon naturally demands attention. People can't figure him out, and that mystery triggers the brain's curiosity circuits. Neurologically speaking, curiosity activates the dopamine reward system, the same network that fuels desire. What begins as a subtle anomaly soon becomes a mental puzzle others feel compelled to solve. His indifference becomes a mirror, forcing others to confront their own performative behaviors. And here's the twist: he doesn't resist because he's shy or unsure. He resists because he's deeply aware. He understands the social game and simply chooses not to play by its default rules. That's what makes his presence unforgettable. He becomes the one person who stands out by standing still, the rare figure whose quiet autonomy disrupts the flow of mimicry. And once curiosity turns into obsession, people aren't just watching him, they're studying him, admiring him, even imitating him, trying to decode the very script he refuses to perform. Number 4, self-mastery over validation. He sources a value internally. She senses a man who doesn't need approval and immediately compares that to every needy alternative she's seen. This simple but powerful dynamic reveals a psychological truth that's both fascinating and deeply rooted in human behavior. When a man derives his sense of worth from within, rather than relying on validation from others, he emits a kind of quiet strength that is rare and magnetic. In psychology, this is known as internal locus of control, where one believes they have control over their own life and emotions. Most people operate from an external locus, constantly adjusting themselves to please others, seeking validation and fearing rejection. But the Sigma male doesn't play that game. He has no interest in molding himself into someone else's expectations. Instead, he operates from a deep core of self-assurance and purpose, and women notice. Instinctively, they recognize that this man isn't trying to impress her or anyone else. He's not performing, he's simply existing with confidence. That contrast is startling, especially in a world flooded with men who chase likes, attention, or affection like starving wolves. The Sigma's indifference to approval isn't arrogance. It's a reflection of maturity and emotional self-sufficiency. This trait doesn't just make him attractive, it makes him unforgettable. While others anxiously scan the room for validation, he's content being his own anchor. And that inner calmness, that refusal to beg for acknowledgement, sends a subconscious message: I am enough. Women can sense that on a primal level. They don't just see him as confident, they see him as rare. Because in a society where most people are desperately trying to be noticed, the one who doesn't need the spotlight often ends up becoming the most compelling figure in the room. That's the quiet power of a man who sources value from within. Number 5, Solitude as strength. His silence isn't emptiness, it's a refueling of purpose. When a Sigma male goes quiet, it's not because he has nothing to say, it's because he's busy listening to the world, analyzing, recalibrating, and restoring his internal power. Unlike most men who seek validation through constant interaction or the need to be seen, the Sigma understands that growth often happens in solitude. This isn't brooding or passive withdrawal, it's intentional. Women in particular are drawn to this mysterious quiet not because it's loud, but because it invites curiosity. It's a magnetic paradox. The less he shares, the more others want to know. Psychology suggests that we are naturally drawn to what is uncertain or ambiguous, a concept known as the curiosity gap. The Sigma male lives in this gap. He doesn't offer easy answers or predictable reactions. His depth isn't performative, it's real, and that's rare. For women who are used to men putting on a show to impress, the Sigma's composed silence is a refreshing deviation from the norm. It speaks of self-sufficiency, control, and inner strength. Evolutionary psychology even supports this dynamic. Many studies show that women are subconsciously attracted to men who demonstrate independence and purpose, qualities historically linked with leadership and protection. But the Sigma isn't leading anyone. He's simply leading himself. That kind of self-mastery is intoxicating to observe. His silence is a signal that he's not desperate for approval, not seeking applause. He's already anchored in who he is. And in a noisy world full of oversharing and posturing, that kind of silence doesn't push people away. It pulls them in. It becomes an invitation to look closer, to wonder more, and to realize that behind that quiet exterior is a man of substance, strategy, and undeniable intrigue. Number 6, emotional economy. He doesn't scatter feelings, he invests them selectively, and that right there is what makes him so different. In a world where people hand out emotions like candy on Halloween, constantly oversharing, overcommitting, and over-explaining, this man is intentional. Every word, every glance, every act of vulnerability is measured. He knows that emotions, like currency, lose value when spent recklessly. Instead of exhausting his energy in shallow attachments, he pours it into meaningful, rare connections. This makes his attention feel like a treasure, not a transaction. Psychologically, this taps into something called the scarcity principle, a concept studied extensively in behavioral economics and social psychology. Humans tend to place higher value on things that are rare or difficult to attain. So when someone like him chooses to open up, when he lets you in, it doesn't just feel good, it feels profound, it feels earned. And that's not manipulation, that's authenticity. He's not cold, he's just calibrated. He guards his inner world, not because he's aloof, but because he's aware of how sacred it is. This level of emotional discipline is both intimidating and magnetic. People feel it. They lean in, not because he's loud, but because he's quiet with purpose. Unlike the emotionally chaotic who confuse intensity with intimacy, he brings stillness, focus, and depth to the table. And in doing so, he creates a powerful paradox. The less he gives away, the more people want to receive. That's the secret to his presence. His emotions aren't on public display, they are locked behind intentional choices. And when he finally offers a piece of his inner world, it hits different. It sticks, it matters. Because in his universe, affection is not a habit. It's a conscious, deliberate act of connection, and that makes all the difference. Number 7, calculated withdrawal. He disappears without drama, no arguments, no angry texts, no grand exit, just silence. And that silence isn't meant to punish her. It's a reset, a quiet return to self. This behavior is common among men who operate from a place of inner sovereignty, especially Sigma males. They're not emotionally detached, they're emotionally disciplined. When they sense imbalance or manipulation, they don't react with outbursts. They retreat. Psychologists call this the avoidant coping mechanism, where individuals withdraw to regulate their emotions and regain clarity. But here's the twist. In his absence, a vacuum is created, and human nature hates a vacuum. Her mind, craving closure or understanding, begins to replay moments, analyze texts, and question everything. This mental loop isn't random, it's neurological. The brain's default mode network, DMN, activates during rest, fueling introspection and memory recall. She starts to remember his calm demeanor, his unshakable energy, his rare ability to be fully present. The contrast becomes louder in his absence. It's not manipulation, It's the unintended consequence of presence followed by silence. In a world addicted to instant gratification and constant validation, his decision to walk away quietly feels louder than any confrontation. She realizes he doesn't chase because he never needed to. He values peace over performance, solitude over chaos, and clarity over confusion. His silence isn't cold, it's calibrated, and as she sits in the echo of his disappearance, she learns something. Real power doesn't need to prove itself. It simply exits and lets the void do the talking. This isn't a game, it's the natural rhythm of a man who knows his worth and refuses to stay where he isn't valued. Number 8, observation before action. He listens, processes, then moves. That's not just a behavior, it's a mindset that separates the Sigma male from the rest. In a world of instant gratification and constant noise, most men react. They interrupt, over-explain, or try to impress right away, afraid that silence might cost them attention. But the Sigma male operates on a different frequency. He knows that true power lies in observation, not performance. His silence isn't awkward, it's strategic. And when he listens, he's fully present. His eyes don't wander, he doesn't zone out. Instead, he's reading between the lines, catching the things people don't say as much as the things they do. Psychology backs this up. Active listening increases trust and emotional safety. For women, this kind of presence is rare. Most are used to men who rush to speak, flirt, or flatter, often inauthentically. But the Sigma male makes them feel not. And that distinction is powerful. When a man isn't trying to impress, a woman starts to wonder why. That mystery, combined with the quiet confidence of someone who's not seeking approval, triggers intrigue. According to studies in evolutionary psychology, unpredictability and emotional depth are powerful attractants because they hint at intelligence, self-mastery, and status, qualities linked to high-value mates. So when a Sigma male pauses before speaking, when he gives his attention without trying to capture hers, it signals something deeper, control. He's not just reacting to the moment, he's choosing his response. And that subtle discipline, that calm presence, becomes magnetic. Women subconsciously chase the kind of rare attention that wasn't overly given. It's not game playing, it's authenticity wrapped in mystery. And that's what makes the Sigma male's energy so quietly powerful. He doesn't chase the moment, he lets the moment come to him. Number 9, boundary clarity. He doesn't tolerate manipulation, flattery, or emotional noise, not because he thinks he's better than anyone, but because his internal compass is firmly fixed on clarity, purpose, and self-respect. While others might get caught up in emotional drama or attention-seeking games, he remains grounded, silent, and observant. This isn't aloofness, it's emotional intelligence at work. Research published in the shows that individuals with high emotional intelligence are better at detecting deception and emotional manipulation, making it easier for them to spot fake intentions. Sigma males, known for their introspective habits and analytical minds, often excel in this area. Their calm, calculated responses are not reactions, they're decisions. In a culture addicted to overexposure and emotional chaos, his stillness becomes a form of quiet power. Like a lighthouse standing firm during a storm, he offers stability without shouting. People are drawn in by the silence, intrigued by the mystery, and captivated by the calm he never tries to flaunt. Number 10, purpose over people. His life is mission-driven, not someone-driven. Unlike many men who revolve around relationships for purpose, the Sigma male, or mission-oriented man, is guided by a higher calling, his goals, vision, or inner code. This focus is magnetic. Women can intuitively sense when a man isn't chasing validation, but instead is anchored in something bigger than romance. Evolutionary psychology explains this. Women are drawn to men who demonstrate competence, autonomy, and purpose because these traits signal strength and stability. Ironically, the more he focuses on his path and not on winning her, the more she desires to be included in his journey. Number 11, effortless competence. He sharpens his skills in silence, not for applause, but for mastery. While others boast about progress, he moves in the shadows, letting his work speak volumes. This quiet confidence is what sets him apart. Studies in psychology show that people often admire those who are competent yet humble, a phenomenon known as the quiet leader effect. His refusal to boast isn't modesty, it's strategy. When excellence reveals itself without announcement, it feels more authentic, more magnetic. People don't just respect him, they become captivated. In a world full of noise, his silent brilliance becomes impossible to ignore and utterly unforgettable. Number 12, Inner peace as power. He's not restless. His calm isn't complacency, it's control. In a world driven by constant noise, his tranquility stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. This isn't the silence of passivity, but the discipline of emotional mastery. Studies in psychology show that people are naturally drawn to those who exude stability, especially during stressful times. His unshakable presence becomes magnetic not through words or flashy gestures, but through the rare sense of safety he radiates. For her, this steady energy is like breathing fresh air in a smog-filled world. She may not know why, but she's compelled to come back. He doesn't try to be irresistible, he simply is, because he's detached from the things that weaken most men: validation, drama, and constant attention. His strength doesn't come from having people or things, but from commanding the room with his calm, silent presence. Psychology calls this pre-selection, where scarcity creates value. His energy doesn't clamor for attention, it speaks in subtle tones, drawing people in like gravity. That quiet charisma lingers in the minds of others, especially her, who can't quite figure him out. The mystery isn't an act, it's the essence of someone who lives by his own code. Be unseen, be unforgettable,